Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick and I'm talking with Luis Jorge Romero, Director General of ETSI.
That's it. Good morning.
Welcome. Thanks for talking to us. Glad to meet you. Let's begin with this. Why is ETSI focusing so much on zero touch in its recent ISG?
With the outcome now of 5G, where obviously things will get complex and difficult to handle, it's very important that operators get automated support for the networks, and this way of doing it is through zero-touch management.
What particular aspect of zero touch is ETSI looking at, and how will that help the industry in due course?
Actually, ETSI is looking at it very broadly, but we will start on phase concentrating on network slicing. So how are we going to handle and manage network slices, which is key for the development of 5G?
Looking back a bit, what happens now to the NFV ISG? Will it continue, or will it continue with a revised focus, or is that now part of history and over?
Well, NFV does have its role to play, so it will continue. Operators are still bringing some new functions that they need to look and virtualize. So this will continue in parallel to zero touch.
With more and more open source deployments within telecoms, how does this impact the role of the industry's leading standards body, ETSI?
Well, actually it helps us move faster, because what we will do is integrate the learnings from this, let's say, open source, and incorporate it into how we develop standards. So it's a win-win situation for us.
There are calls that the open source community should be feeding standardization requests into organizations like ETSI based on actual work. How does ETSI feel about such a reversal of responsibilities? Is it putting the cart before the horse, the tail wagging the dog, something like that?
Well, the way we see it is that, of course, we will see more and more need to do kind of implementation-based standards. So indeed, there will be times when the open source community finds a gap that needs to be filled. They will work on the implementation, and indeed, the better it fits back into the standards, then the standards will be able to be implemented elsewhere for private, proprietary, or other open source projects.
Now, the downside of the open source movement is that there are so many frequently fragmented groups involved in it. They often chop and change, move around, take different focuses. Does you not think that this leads to a less overall focus and a commitment from the industry, and is therefore likely ultimately to weaken the whole innovation model?
No, I don't really think so. What will happen is that there will be proliferation of ways of implementing a solution, and the ones who are more accepted by the marketplace will be the ones to survive, as long as you make sure that the solutions are standard and therefore interoperable. You're safe. So it doesn't really matter, and industry will focus on the right path at the end.
A final question to you then, if I might. A regular plea, which is heard year after year, is that the telecoms industry needs to engage more with other industries, and particularly in light of NFV and looking at virtualization and vertical parts of different industries and so on. This has major application and major implications when it comes to standardization. What progress is ETSI making in this regard, and what real concrete steps is it taking to improve the situation?
We would have liked to move faster in this domain, because actually it's very key. Now what we are doing is very concrete steps. So we're looking at concrete sectors. Automation, automotive is one, health is another one. So we have specific groups that are developing specific solutions with these sectors involved in the development and in the inputting of requirements. So to us, it's very, very key, and we are trying to work directly with sectors, with sector associations that are also being created, and sometimes with other standard organizations looking at those other sectors.
Luis Jorge Romero, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.